creepy things they did in our polygamous cult. Glorified schmetophilia.
Yep.
I don't think I could say the actual word, but these old men would get up in church and show us a picture and everything of them holding one of their wives when the wife was a baby and be like, I knew I was going to marry her when I met her as a newborn.
And the families would talk about it like it was a beautiful part of their family history.
Right, like such a cute little story. They would frame the photo and be like, this is so amazing.
That if you pray enough, then Heavenly Father really will be in your life to put an impression on you while you're with a newborn baby that could possibly be your future wife. It's so embedded that the men don't even look at this as something that's creepy. Like it's right. And they parentify the women, I think, at such a young age that they don't even think of, I don't know, it's such a weird, like, the men can do no wrong and the women are held accountable. Right. But you'll see this left and right where the direction from the Lord is being given to these men.
Little
innocent kids. Yeah.
Also, they sit there and talk about, like, oh, on the outside, then this happens and that happens and people are abused and whatever. And I'm like,
that's what's happening right
that
here.
Kind of sounds exactly like you guys, but they do it because it's for the Lord and whatever. Like, even when they would talk about the FLDS, they would be like, oh, Warren Jeffs went to prison because he wasn't doing things right. He was just doing what he wanted. And
when David O. Kingston goes to prison for the same thing.
I think every single polygamous group talks crap about the other one, like, oh, they're not living it right, we're the ones living it right. And I'm like, you guys are all doing the same thing in a different font.
It's literally all of these cults are just lacking accountability, and it's like that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other. It's so crazy that they can't see the mirror when it's held up. So they could be doing the exact same thing that someone's going to prison for on the outside, and they'll point their finger at that person going to prison like, oh, see, that's what outsiders do. But they're literally doing the same thing, if not worse.
Especially if it's somebody that left the group. Then they're just like, look, they're a bad person because they left, when they're doing way worse.
Again, it's because they have the justification that, well, the Lord told me to, but the Lord told me to. You just don't understand.
Right.
And so, but that's what gets scary. It's like, so then there is no line, right? The fact that you guys are looking at kids in that way and you're not thinking to check yourself, you need to be checked.
I genuinely believe that if there were no repercussions, they would marry younger. They would do so much worse than they do now because nobody's going to do anything about it.
Think of if David O. Kingston didn't go to prison.
Right.
Think of, because they
would continue to do that stuff. Like when our moms grew up, they were, and I know that this was a thing in the rest of the world as well, but women were getting married at 14, but they were also getting second wives when the second wives were 14. And they were just constantly doing this. But because David and Jeremy and like a few people got caught, then they're just like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't do that as much, you know?
It is scary to think of what lack of accountability can create, the kind of monsters that they become.
So the reason why they do second wives at 18 or after 18 is because then that person cannot say, I was abused as a child, or like I
was groomed to be a polygamous wife as a teenager.
Like they use it as like, well, they were 18. They got to make their own decision.
But they are still grooming them. They're just not doing the ceremony, or they at least try to hold off on the ceremony. Follow for more content like this. We also have our social medias always linked in the bio.
So we'll see you there.